Okay, so a question right off the bat. I'm not saying I was high up at any point, but how did I manage to fall off from that low point? Like, bro, 4 views? You kidding me? But other than that, let's get to the video. So today I am gonna do the tutorial for the slicer because last time it was the tutorial for Fusion. So you're actually gonna be able to 3D print some things. So you've got the slicer interface right here. This is the material right here, nozzle size. I'm using the Creality slicer, but every slicer works. Every slicer is the same kind of, except for bamboo slicer because it's just weird. So first thing you want to do is import a file right here. So we've got the cable clip and click on open. That's gonna import it. So now we've got a thing here. That's something. And then you move around in every slicer differently, but for me it's right click move the camera and middle click move it like that. So you can click on it, reposition it anywhere you want. I always put it here because I've got the best adhesion here and leveled bed and everything. And then if you select the object, you can see here, I think in other slices it's on the top, I don't know. You can move it in the X axis. For example, let's do -60. That moves it right here. We can put it on a clean number, just like that. And then we've got scaling, so you can scale the object up if you want to. And also you can do percentage here, so 90% of the original size, 150 of the original size. But I always design my objects to just be print ready. And you can also do it with the millimeter size. So for example, we've got 22 millimeters from here to here. And let's say you want it to be just 20. So you type in 20. It's not a good number on the percentage, but you've got 20 and then you're good. And then you've got rotation. So you can rotate it however you want. For example, like that. You can also turn off snap rotation, but it's not recommended. And you can lay it flat. You can select face to line up with the build plate and you can reset it. Let's just move it over here again. So that's your build plate right here. And then you can mirror it like that. Doesn't really do much. You can always hit Control Z if you messed up, just like that. Then you can, what's this? I never use this. Custom supports. Oh, yeah. So do it custom, but it's not recommended. You can also block supports right here. Like if you don't want this area to be supported right here, you can do that. And then that's all of these functions. Then this is the important part. Like you've got everything here. You even, like, that's recommended, but it's not always the best, so I always use custom. You can do layer height here, initial layer height, so it's layer height from the first layer. Bro, this part pissed me off so much. Like I had to take it like 25 times because I just couldn't get it right, so I was just a little louder. For example, if you want a layer height of 0.4, if you want to print high objects with low quality that don't really need to be high quality and you want to print them fast, then I always select 0.4, but the first layer is 0.2 because it's gonna adhere better to the build plate. Line width is pretty much the width of the line the nozzle draws.
No shit.
You always want to leave it just like the nozzle. Then initial line width, it's the first layer. So initial is the first layer. And that's percentage of this line width. So if we want 0.3, I'm not good at maths, but I think it's gonna be 80%. Just leave it at 100. And you can always, if you type something, you can always do the normal thing again with the little arrow. Now let's get to the shell. So the wall thickness, thickness of the wall, and wall line count, how many lines to draw for the walls, because it's always a print is built like wall, then support, and then wall again, and top layer, bottom layer. So that's the walls, and that's the top bottom. As I said, you always want to leave the 4 top and 4 bottom layers just because it's gonna be more stable and like not break that easily. Horizontal expansion, I don't know what that is. Infill density, also a very important setting. It's just pretty much the percentage, like 100% is completely filled in, so no gaps, no nothing. And 10% is essentially just 10% of this is filled in with the infill. And then infill pattern, you can experiment a little with that, but I always leave it on cubic. Print temperature is also very important. If you print different materials and print them differently, if they bridge or not, but I always set it on the printer, so that doesn't matter for me. Build plate temperature is just the temperature of the build plate, so if you put it higher, the plastic is gonna be a little softened at the bottom, so it's gonna adhere better to the build plate. Flow is very important, so if you customize your printer like I do, you have to do several flow tests to get the right amount of material flowing out, because if it's too much, it's just gonna be a huge mess. If it's not enough, it's just gonna be not adhering to the layers and not be stable. So print speed is just the speed of how the nozzle travels. So you've got infill speed, wall speed, top bottom speed. Travel speed is just if the nozzle goes from here to here to here to here, then it's gonna go from here without printing anything to here, or if you get bigger parts, from here to here or something. And this is the travel speed, like how fast the printer head travels without printing. Initial layer speed is the speed of the first layer. It's gotta be a little lower than the normal print speed because the first layer is the most important. Retraction is just after every finished layer or before any travel. It just retracts the filament from the nozzle, so it's not gonna be that messy or anything comes out that doesn't need to come out. And the distance is just how much filament it pulls and at what speed. And Z-hop is just when it retracts, it just goes a little up, so it's not gonna make a mess, but that works for my printer too if it's turned off. So cooling, pretty self-explanatory. Support, that's essentially if you got floating things, like for example, if I just were to do this, which is not recommended, that would need support. And that's where support comes in, and you can do essentially, it's at 0 degrees everything is supported, so even these little things, and at 90 degrees nothing is supported. It's like reverse, I don't know why that is. And build plate adhesion is just, it makes a little thing on the build plate to for the print object to stick better to the build plate. So if we do brim, I think dual extrusion is not supported on most printers, and spiralized outer contour, I think it's pronounced. It just does one wall and it just doesn't stop. It goes up and up and up and up and up and up. So here you got the slice button. Let's just slice it. It says 29 minutes, how much filament, and how many meters, and how much it costs if you set it right here. Materials, yeah. So I've got generic PLA set to 11.95 because that's how much it costs, and it estimates everything here, and you can do it for every filament type. You've got profiles here. I don't really mess with that. Printers, I've got mine. Settings, you can, if you select everything, it's gonna be a huge mess, and right here it's gonna do every little setting that is automatically set on most things and general, so you know, language, currency, everything. And then you've got the preview, so it's up here too. So as we can see, we selected the build plate adhesion as a brim, so it does that little thing, and then it supports all of this. So that's support essentially, and you can then save it, or if you got a better printer than mine, you can just directly send it to the printer and it would just print it out. So yeah, that's probably everything you need to know. Have a great day, see you next time.